Hi, and welcome to Transform Your Impact. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are talking to business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, and visionaries, and learning their secrets to success, what's gotten them ahead in their careers and in the world, and bringing back all this amazing knowledge for you. So today we have a wonderful speaker. We've got Penny Zenker with us. She's a best-selling author. There she is. She's a TEDx speaker, the energy of thought. She's also a motivational business speaker and coach, and she's got worlds of knowledge for us. So I'm really excited to have you on the show, Penny. Thank you for being here.
Hey, it's great to be here. I'm super excited.
Awesome. Awesome. So beautiful. So would love to hear about your TEDx talk and, what you're up to in your career currently.
Sure. Well, it was one of my goals and dreams to do a TEDx talk because of, speaking of wanting to make an impact and just what that platform means in terms of inspiring people and really, driving value. So that was super exciting. And it was the energy of thought, as you said. And, for me, that is the key to being happy in our lives. It's the key to being successful, to being productive, to having great relationships, is being able to manage the energy of our thought. And so I go into more detail, which you should all listen to it.
Awesome. So can we give a little bit of info about what does it mean, the energy of thought? Can we unpack that a little bit for the viewers?
Yeah. So, we all have thoughts, right? And we've got actually 70,000 thoughts a day. So we've got so many thoughts coming at us. And, we're not really conscious of what all those thoughts are. And so it makes us very impulsive in the way that we behave, in the way that we interact with others, the way that we communicate. And so by making that sort of unconscious conscious and starting to be aware of what those thoughts are and how they turn into, the relationship between the thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors, brings us amazing insight so we can really be emotionally intelligent and mindful. And in the talk, I share some stories about my life, but also I share sort of the principles that I believe are behind the energy of thought and how we can be more conscious of it and use them to then be more in control and take charge, so to speak, of our thoughts.
Awesome. Awesome. And so are these sort of insights and, ways of being that you've incorporated into what you're up to and your business coaching, or tell me how it's worked in your life?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're coaching concepts, and, it's not that it's, let's say, revolutionary new, right? We're all, there's nothing new out there, but it's a new way to kind of look at it. And, for instance, one of those areas, we all know that self-talk is so key, right? Into how we experience anything, the meaning that we create in our lives. I mean, we are meaning makers. So we get to determine what any event means to us, but we're unconscious of that and we're not thinking about that. So when we think and focus a little bit on our self-talk, now we have an understanding of what kind of meaning we're creating in our life. So let's say something simple, somebody, cuts you off, or something more complicated, whereas somebody passes away. And I think this is where this really came from for me, is that my father died in an accident when he was on vacation when I was 18. And, for me, with any kind of big event that happens in our lives and any little event that happens in our lives, we have one question that we ask that's totally unconscious, and that is, what does this mean? And we don't think about it, but that's what we're asking in the moment, is, what does this mean? Yeah. And if we address whatever that first thing that comes up, well, it's that impulsive 70,000 thoughts, that are coming up. And really the interesting part is only 5% of those are new. So we're repeating the same thing. So, what comes up in that, what does this mean, is critical. And when we make it more conscious, we can shift the meaning, quickly, in the moment. So, this could mean depression. This could mean, with my father passing, this could mean anger and because of the way that it happened. And, I didn't realize that this is what I was doing. I only found out later in life that this is kind of like a coping mechanism or a self-help tool that I do. And I ask it again, well, what else could this mean? And what else could this mean? And now I've opened up perspective to be able to choose the meaning that's going to best serve me. And my family laughs at me. My brother thinks, oh, that's ridiculous. Well, I'm much happier. So, who's ridiculous, right? I'm happier because I can choose if I have an argument with someone or falling out in a friendship, which I've had. I could choose to be bitter and see that person as having, personally attacked me and see it as that, or I could see it as a misunderstanding, right? A huge difference between a betrayal, let's say, and a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And that meaning will then determine not only how I interact with them, but how I interact with everyone in my life, right? From that point forward, based on the meaning that I give it. So that's one of I don't explain it in that way in the TEDx, but that's the gist of where it came from is understanding our self-talk and those questions that we ask ourselves and the words that we use on a regular basis and the energy that it creates within us and that we create in others.
That's so cool. And you really bring these principles into your business coaching as well, yeah?
I do. I mean, I would be, it's really a part of who I am. Yeah. And so I couldn't leave it out. I wrote a book in 2015, which I was blessed to be, an Amazon bestseller. And it's called The Productivity Zone, Stop the Tug of War with Time. And, people think, it's really about time management, and it is, but it isn't, because it's about managing our energy, because it's how we show up for our time. Mm-hmm. So when we sit down to actually work on something, how we show up matters. If we're not fully connected to what we're doing and why we're doing it, we can get distracted. And that happens, and it's much easier today to get distracted with, the bells and whistles on our phones and email and internet calling us and all of the different ways that we can be distracted and interrupted. So it's just an example of how energy comes into everything that we do and really how focused we are in achieving the things that are most important to us. So it's, thinking about how we set up our environment, shutting off. I know that people want to be connected, right? And they think that it's so important, and that important call or message might come across. But the fact is you can shut it down, go into airplane mode, and really concentrate on what you're doing so that you can be fully present. And when you're fully present, you can really be focused. And before you sit down to do any block of work, set an intention. Say that for this block, and an intention, and also like a clear goal. So, it might be a small step as part of a much bigger goal that you're working on. But if you don't have a clear, like, deliverable or clear, this is where I want to be at the end of this 40-minute, block, then you could go all over the place. But if you have you've set yourself for 40 minutes, you can use a timer. That's also helps. It's kind of a psychological thing that keeps us focused on, okay, got to stay attentive because tick, 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 time is ticking away. Right. And then to say, okay, what am I going to accomplish in this 40 minutes? Maybe it's write an outline for something. Maybe it's make 10 calls. Maybe it's right. And the more specific that you can get, then the more focused and driven and less likely to be distracted that you are.
Those are amazing tips. I mean, I do some of them, but the idea of even going in and, being clear about your intention for what you're going to create in that time period is like, I imagine. So yeah, it opens up a lot. And so I know you have a million things going on in your life, and you're
don't we all?
Yeah. And you're utilizing these tools, and how have you noticed that they've supported you?
Well, let me first say that I'm human as well. Okay. Yeah. So I've got 2 kids and they walk in the door, and, you know, I work from home from time to time when I'm not working at a client or speaking engagement. And so that can be distracting. And so I do practice them, and I practice them and I practice them because I'm like everyone else. Is sometimes I'm not practicing them, and I have to realize and say, okay, this isn't working. I'm all over the place, and come back to the structures of what works. And that's why people are like, oh, you know, you're so structured. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I have to bring myself back to the structure so that I'm not all over the place. I mean, I don't have any initials that have been officially given to me, but I guarantee that, you know, I am a little bit challenged with attention. So it's those structures that help me to get back in the zone when I fall out of the zone. So that's, and how it's helped me is it helps me to achieve more. It helps me to, I do like having a lot of things on the go at the same time, and feeling like I'm making progress in all of those areas. So it helps me to do that. It helps me at the end of the day also to reflect and be like, okay, what did I do to move forward on this project or that project or the other project? And that way I can manage multiple projects and have multiple priorities, but also know that I'm working on one thing at a time.
Awesome. Yeah, multitasking apparently doesn't work.
The science tells us it doesn't work. I think that I'm a master of it, and we all think that we are. And the fact is that we all stink at it.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. So I'd love to hear some of the things that you're most excited about, and, you know, what's exciting in the world of Penny Zenker right now.
Well, I have a couple exciting things because, as I said, I have multiple projects always going. So one thing that's exciting is my new app is coming out. I've had an online web application for a couple of years, and people are like, you know, phone app, and I'm like, so I did it. The phone app is coming out. I just actually submitted it today onto Google Play and Apple. So it's going to be out in maybe a week or so when they get the approval.
What is it called?
So it's called the Productivity Accelerator.
Okay.
And that's sort of my brand around the productivity zone. And it's all around these 10 core drivers that make us more successful. So my thing is always to take a step back, right? It's always about taking a step back and reflecting on the big picture. And whenever we're thinking of success and going after our goals, sometimes we're not looking at the big picture. And so we need to look at the areas of mindset, the areas of our strategy and approach, and then also how to make it sustainable. So this app helps us to take that step back and to see where we are in these 10 areas in relation to any particular goal.
Cool.
So yeah, so it's going to boost your productivity when you use this. It's an action planner, and it also will help you to do that reflection on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis, whatever you choose. So that's super exciting. And I have a big goal because I believe in setting big goals. And so over the next 5 years, I want to have 1 million people on that platform.
Wow. Awesome. Well, let's support Penny to get there. Support ourselves to be more productive, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely.
Love it.
And can I share one more big thing that's going on?
Yeah, share away. It's your time.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, so I'm also involved as an executive producer for a film that's coming out. It's called Wishman.
Oh, wow. Tell us about it.
And that was it actually came from a program that you know through Next Level that I did. And after one of the days of the program, I said to myself, through a series of things that happened, I came to the epiphany that I want to write a screenplay. I want to write a movie. And the theme of the movie is everyone can be their own hero.
Wow.
You know, along the lines of the energy of thought kind of thing. And then a month later, across my desk came an opportunity to be part of a movie that Frank Shankowitz, it's his story, and he's the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation. Wow. And the theme of the story was everyone can be a hero. And I thought, whoa, like, get out of town. That is way too close. And I'm, you know, not that I'm giving up writing my own screenplay and doing it on, you know, for that impact that I want to create, but I couldn't not be involved in this movie and the impact that it could make for people and the impact that Make-A-Wish has made for so many children, you know, around the world. So, so I said, yes, I'm in. It took me like all but a half a second to say, yes, that's big impact. And I want to be part of that. And so I was on set for the filming, and that was super exciting. Learned a ton about the film industry and how to manage a project of that nature, which is completely different from other types of projects. And yeah, and super excited. It's been filmed and edited and music added, and we are ready to go. And distribution is going to happen this year, 2019.
That's so exciting. So people will be able to see this someplace in the near future.
Absolutely, they'll be able to see it online in theaters coming soon.
So cool. And you'll be on the titles, huh? Or not titles.
Yes, look very carefully, because somewhere in the role I will be there.
That's so cool. So yeah, it's so interesting. Like I love that you're into so many of the similar areas that like, I feel like there's just something so poignant about film and utilizing it to tell our stories and to get the knowledge and the stories out there that are going to change the world. And so it's so great that you've stepped into that world and you're super inspired by it, it sounds like.
Yeah, you know what's funny is ever since I was a kid and I used to watch movies, you know, the movies touch us in a way because of the visuals, because of the music, right? And because of the story, they touch it in a way that really nothing else does in a depth. And I find like I get the weirdest things out of movies that no one else gets, right? Because it's all about where you are at that time and how you're interpreting that story and what it means to you in your life. So I think that it is one of the most powerful sources of creating impact.
Yeah, totally. That's so great. I love it. So more to come from you. I mean, it sounds like you're going to be doing more writing in the near future too.
Absolutely.
So cool. Awesome. Cool. So what do you feel like, let's talk about your journey a little bit. You've gone into it some, but do you feel like, I mean, were you always interested in making a big impact, or was there a point in your life when you were just not on the path of, you know, your purpose and your passion, and you had a transformation? Or what? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I think, you know, I've had lots of transformation along the way, but I think that from a very early age, I've always enjoyed helping people and wanting to make a difference. I don't know where that came from per se, but I've always felt that way.
Yeah. And
then I think with each major challenge in my life, it became that much more pronounced. And the older that I get, you know, also, you know, legacy becomes a bigger topic of what kind of footprint am I leaving? Am I leaving this world a better place than when I got here? And, you know, and how did I do that? So I don't know that it's any one thing, but I do know that it was interesting. Like I never had any real mentors up until I was like, I even started my own technology business, you know, and built it up from just me to a multi-million-dollar business and sold it to a public company. And I had no real mentors at the time. So I did it like all wrong and all the hard way. And I learned like crazy good lessons, which, you know, I would have rather have learned in another way. And I was very lucky and very fortunate in so many ways. But it was after I left there and went to work for a large market research company that I had my first really impactful mentor. And I think it was probably that experience that, you know, I hadn't really thought of it until now. I've never really been asked that question. So I think it was really that, is having somebody really mentor me and see them really and identify them as a mentor and see the impact that it had on me and my personal development, and wanting to, you know, pay that forward in spades.
That's super cool. Awesome. And so you've gone on to do that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that, you know, I've found great platforms that have supported me in, you know, in the written word, in speaking platforms, and yeah, looking for more and more ways to make that impact and do it in more insightful and impactful ways.
Super cool. Very cool. Awesome. So are there, if you could pass on some, like one thing that's really supported you to transform your world, transform your impact, what would you say that like one nugget would be? You've said so many, but if there's one thing that you could distill it down to for people.
Well, I guess it would be from one of the early lessons that I got from this mentor. That's maybe the first thing that comes top of mind is, I had just sold my technology business and started to work for this market research company. I thought I was going easy now, right? I'm going to a 9-to-5 job. Things are going to be so much easier and so much better for me that I don't need to really be as challenged. And when I got there, I had to they were going through a reorganization, and I had to take so instead of being the chief technology officer that I was hired for one company, I then took my boss's job, which was responsible for 5 companies across 4 countries.
Whoa. And,
if I thought I was overwhelmed before as an entrepreneur, like, it doesn't matter whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for a big company. Like, I was like, whoa, this was totally not what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
I already felt like I was overwhelmed and wanted to sort of simplify.
Oh my gosh.
And so it didn't take long for those same habits and behaviors that didn't work before to, expand and be a major problem. So I went into his office and I said, Peter, I have to quit. This isn't what I was looking for. And I don't think that, I questioned myself. I didn't feel like I was capable of doing the job. I felt like I was completely overwhelmed. I didn't have the skills. Like, I just totally doubted myself.
Yeah.
And, and I think we all get in that place sometime or another where we delete all the resources that we do have because maybe we have done bits and pieces of it before, or maybe it's not as challenging or difficult as we make it out to be. It's what we've created in our head. Right.
Yeah.
And so he said this one thing that had such an impact on me. And I share this too on the stage because I think it's the essence of how I started to think differently. Mm. And he said to me, Penny, I hired you to make decisions, and what you do with the rest of your time is up to you. Wow. I know, think about that. I mean, at first I was pissed. Are you kidding me? I was totally not interested or willing to hear that at that moment. Yeah. But when that sank in and I thought about that, I was like, it's right. It's me who's making things more complicated. It's me who's getting caught up in the weeds of all those details when I need to take a step back. Remember earlier I said I'm all about taking a step back. So whenever we feel overwhelmed or the language that we're using, our self-talk is defeating us, or we're not connected to our purpose, or anything that is just not keeping us focused and on the path, is take a step back. And it's thinking and acting more strategically. So I have to step back to look at the big picture first and decide, what does this mean? What else could this mean? Right? And this is how this all comes together for me. And then it's like, okay, let's oversimplify this like he did. so that I can then pick a course, pick a way to find myself, to find the purpose, to find my focus. And I think it's that. I think that we take things way too seriously. We take ourselves too seriously and life too seriously. And we need to constantly take a step back and reevaluate. Wow.
Awesome. I love it. And it does all come full circle. It's beautiful. Awesome. So wonderful. So you have a gift that you wanted to offer our viewers. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I do. Well, we talked about distraction being a key thing. All the stats that I see, 59% of people are totally stressed out and overwhelmed and distracted. I have a couple of different stats on my website that you can see that it's almost like losing a night's sleep, the way that people feel, how depleted they feel from being constantly distracted. Yeah. And so the thing is that we do have more control. This is one of those areas that we have more control than we think, but we have to take a step back. So I want to offer people a fun little assessment to see how distracted you are. So you go to distractionquiz.com and you can find out if you're a time zombie or if you're a squirrel, or sorry, a hamster, right, on that hamster wheel, or squirrel, or what your profile is. And then, you know, when you sign up for that, then there's also like a distraction hacking guide that's provided to help you to be more focused and to be more aware, bring into our consciousness what is distracting us, and really take charge and take control of that.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Penny. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. And thank you so much for watching out there. I hope that you got many nuggets of wisdom. I certainly did. And stay tuned. There's going to be more amazing people who are really creating wonderful things in their lives and in the world. And there's a lot to learn. So stay tuned. Thank you. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.